Well, SummerSlam 2015, all 4 hours of it. Actually, 5 hours because I watched the pre-show thinking there might be a match on there. There wasn't, which makes me wonder why the pre-show needed to be an hour long. Excuse me. Well, like I said, the pre-show, there was just nothing of consequence that happened on there. At one point, they kind of mentioned that, Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt was a partial reunion of the Wyatt family. It made me think that something was going to happen during that match, but, well, we'll get to that match when we get to it. On to the show proper. The first match off was Randy Orton versus Sheamus, and I'm pretty sure this was actually also the first match on the Battleground pay-per-view. Shows you how high they think this feud is. Funny thing is, throughout most of the match, the announcers kept bringing up Money in the Bank, Money in the Bank. I know Sheamus kind of tried to cash it in a couple weeks ago, and when Orton had a world title shot against Rollins, and Orton almost won, and then Sheamus interrupted. It's like, one, why do that if you know he's not going to X? This is one of those things you try to inject logic into the world of professional wrestling sometimes, and you need to remind yourself not to do that. Likewise with this, they brought up the Money in the Bank briefcase a bunch of times. Nothing really comes of that. Again, spoiler for later on. There were some noteworthy points in this match, though. Early on, Randy went right away for the RKO, but Sheamus blocked it and rolled out of the ring, and he got on the mic and said something about respecting the Hawk, and it took me like 3 minutes to finally realize he was talking about his mohawk. And after that, Sheamus hit 2 Uranagi backbreakers and then locked on a sleeper. Orton hit a T-bone suplex over the top rope. Sheamus locked on a cloverleaf at one point. Orton actually hit the Hangman's DDT off of the top rope from the corner turnbuckle. Orton went for an RKO, but Sheamus rolled out of the ring again. Sheamus went for a flying shoulder block over the top rope. That enabled Orton to hit an RKO, but Sheamus rolled out of the ring a third time. Orton went for the punt kick. Sheamus countered it with a white noise. Orton then tried to go for an RKO again. Sheamus did a brogue kick into the corner turnbuckle. Orton bounced off of that, started walking stumbled into the middle of the ring. Sheamus hit another brogue kick and they covered him for the victory. Like I said, not a bad match, but again, kind of through the whole thing, they teased the Money in the Bank, and, part of me knew, well, they're not really going to cash that in. But, it's like, if you know it's not going to happen, don't tease it. No, yeah. Anyway. Sorry. On to the second match. That is the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Tag Team Championships. The New Day versus Los Matadores versus the Lucha Dragons versus the Primetime Players. Early on, right off the bat, the New Day tried, I can't remember, I forget what it used to be. For a while it was called the Outlaw Maneuver, where they each tag in, they made sure that 2 members of the New Day were legal in the match, and then they tried to pin each other, but everyone got hip to that. I think at one point it was called the Smoking Gun Rule, and then for a while it was called the Outlaw Rule, and usually they say, well, that doesn't apply anymore. I don't think that's applied for a long time, or at least in that style of match. Early on, the Lucha Dragons, Kalisto and Sin Cara did a kind of monkey flip splash onto Kofi. Big E hit then Darren Young entered the match. Big E hit a big splash as Young was kind of draped across the ring apron. So, imagine this was Darren Young. This is the ring apron, so Young's kind of hanging off like this, as you can see. And then Big E here comes, boom, like that. And I just dropped my remote. But eventually Young would get the hot tag to Titus O'Neil. Titus cleared out the whole ring. And then Titus battled with Fernando of the Los Matadores. The Lucha Dragons came in for a while too. They tried to suplex Diego over the top rope. But then O'Neil came and kind of power bombed all 3 of them. What they didn't know was when that was happening, Kofi went up and got a blind tag, and Kofi was actually the legal man. Titus hit the Clash of the Titus on Diego, and Kofi kicked Titus in the head and then covered Diego for the 3 count. Your new WWE Tag Team Champions, The New Day. Just a sec. Okay, match number 3, Rusev versus Dolph Ziggler. Boy, this was a turd of a match. Early on, Ziggler did the Sarge bump, where you get kind of slingshotted into the turnbuckle and you hit your head on the top part. Rusev then locked on a bear hug. Rusev hit a Ziggler with a sidewalk slam for a 2. Rusev hit a spinning heel kick for a 2. Ziggler hit a top rope face buster for a 2 count. Rusev hit a forward rolling senton. Where a senton you normally run, again, remote prop. You run, he does this. So it's like da-da-da-da-da, like that. He did a da-da-da-da-da, flip over like that. After that, Ziggler locked on a sleeper hold. Ziggler then hit a famouser for a 2 count. Rusev hit a super kick and then locked on the accolade on Ziggler. Then Lana and Summer Rae began fighting on the outside of the ring. This distracted Rusev. Ziggler got out of the ring. They both got out of the ring. Ziggler super kicked Rusev outside of the ring, but neither of them made it back in before the 10 count. So the match ended in a double count out. When was the last time you ever thought a match at SummerSlam would end on a double count out? Oh boy. Well, that brings us to match 4, which is the tag team between Adrian Neville and Stephen Amell versus Stardust and Wade Barrett. Barrett actually had kind of a better looking ring gear in this case. It had more of a sci-fi flavor to it, I guess because it's all the superhero motif. I'm trying to think what the nickname they were calling him was. Anyway, Neville and Barrett started off, but then Stardust tagged in and wanted Stephen Amell tagged in. Neville acquiesced. Amell did a big springboard jump into the ring. He did like a monkey flip and a leapfrog. Yeah, I guess he got his wrestling moves from Dennis Rodman. He then hit an enziguri on Stardust. Eventually, both Barrett and Stardust began beating up on Amell. He managed to get the hot tag to Neville. The fight carried on outside the ring, and then Amell hit a crossbody on both Barrett and Stardust. This enabled Neville to hit the red arrow on Barrett for the 3. Okay, admittedly, these next 2 matches, I was kind of eating lunch, so it was hard to take a lot of notes during. But admittedly, with the Stephen Amell Goldust tag, or not Goldust, I keep saying Goldust, Neville Stephen Amell match, they kept talking about, he's tagging with Green Arrow, he's tagging with Green Arrow, and not once did they bring up the time Jerry Lawler faced Batman. And yes, that really did happen. Sorry for sounding so angry on this. After that, we had the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Ryback versus Miz versus The Big Show. Early on, Show and Miz double-teamed Ryback, and then Miz and Ryback double-teamed Show. Show then hit a rolling senton off the second rope for a 2 count onto, I want to say it was Ryback. I don't think he would try that on Miz. Ryback hit a top rope splash on Miz, and then Show chokeslammed Ryback onto Miz. Show went for his knockout punch. Ryback countered with a spine buster. Ryback hit the shell shock on Show. Miz hit the skull crushing finale on Ryback, got a 2 count on Ryback. Miz then tried to cover Show, got another 2 count. Miz tried to cover Ryback, got another 2 count. Miz tried to cover Show, and got a 1 count. Eventually the match finished as Show hit Miz with the KO punch. Ryback clothesline Show out of the ring and covered Miz for the 3. Admittedly, that match was better than I thought it was going to be, but that's not saying much. We then got a backstage vignette with Jon Stewart, who was doing all this stuff because he was hosting SummerSlam, and he was trying to interview Brock Lesnar, and Paul Heyman came out, and Heyman and Stewart actually worked better. Heyman and Stewart worked pretty well together. I think it's because Heyman's a really good performer and really good into the performance aspect of it. There were all these other vignettes. They did the same vignette twice, where Jon Stewart was using his son to get autographs from WWE superstars so he could sell them on eBay. Yeah. And then right at the beginning of the show, Jon Stewart came out again and he said, "I want to interview Brock Lesnar and I need backup. So I called in Mick Foley. And Mick Foley showed up and was like, well, why did you call me? You said you were going to interview, I thought you were going to interview Rock, not Brock. I can't help you there." He's like, "But you're Mick Foley. You got thrown off the top of a steel cage." And he goes, "John, that was 17 years ago." Again, no one in the crowd was going for that. Just boring. And like I said, really no one cared about Jon Stewart for most of the night, yet he did play a part, as we'll touch on. But not quite yet. Up next, we have the 6th match of the evening. Okay, I'm shooting this in the afternoon, but okay, it was the evening last night. And that's the Wyatt family of Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt taking on Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Basically, this was just a big slobber knocker. They were brawling all over the place. All 4 men were brawling outside the ring, Eventually, Harper super kicked Reigns kind of into the announce table, and Reigns was out for a long time. And this enabled Wyatt and Harper to just beat the snot out of Ambrose. They just kept hitting him and hitting him. Wyatt hit a hangman DDT on Ambrose on the floor. Harper locked Ambrose in a crossface. Eventually, Reigns managed to regain consciousness, get back into the ring, get a hot tag from Ambrose. Harper hit a sit-down powerbomb on Reigns, only got a 2 count. Eventually, Ambrose and Reigns hit a devastation device for a 2 count. And then Ambrose hit the Dirty Deeds on Wyatt and then tagged in Reigns, much to the chagrin of the crowd. And Reigns speared Wyatt for the 3 count, so Reigns and Ambrose win. And then we have a bit of a surprise, as this was the 7th match. The title United States Heavyweight Championship versus the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins versus John Cena. Seth Rollins debuted new ring gear for this. It was all white with gold trim instead of his usual black with gold trim. It was kind of weird looking. I can't believe I'm invoking this character, if anyone remembers. If you remember Mordecai, the wannabe Undertaker Raven knockoff from 2004, that the guy who would later play the ECW vampire portrayed for like 2 months and did nothing. Yeah, it looked like that. Anyway, early on, the crowd was pro Rollins almost entirely. I mean, there was a small vocal Cena chant, but not a lot. Exactly, this was a definitively pro Rollins crowd the whole time. Rollins hit a blockbuster on Cena and then kind of kneed him in the spine. They did the whole thing where Cena was trying not to get his nose broken at all, the whole match. Rollins did 2 suicide dives and then a somersault plunge outside of the ring. Eventually, Cena began to get an upper hand. He went for the "You Can't See Me," and Rollins kicked him in the top of the head, but not the nose. Again, they sold the nose. And but Cena countered back and hit a springboard stunner. Did not get all of it though, so he didn't even try to go for a pin. Rollins, he went for an AA, an attitude adjustment, and then Rollins countered by hitting a running shooting star press for a 2. Then Rollins did the "You Can't See Me" with a double stomp for a 2 count. Cena eventually would catch Rollins in for an attitude adjustment and only got a 2 count. Cena then hit a face plant on Rollins for a 2 count. Cena hit a guillotine leg drop for a 2 count. This was a really good match. A lot of really big spots going through the whole thing. Near fall after near fall. Rollins hit a frog splash, which Cena then countered into an attempt for an AA. Then Rollins hit the attitude adjustment on Cena for a 2 count. Cena then he went up for a corkscrew moonsault, but Cena countered that and hit an STF. Rollins got to the ropes, so Cena dragged him back into the middle of the ring, locked on the figure 4, and they made the whole thing because if Cena wins the title, it's 16 times, which means he ties Ric Flair for most world title reigns, and now he's going to win the title with Ric Flair's finishing hold. Well, that didn't happen as Rollins turned it over. Eventually, Cena broke the hold. Rollins then hit a superplex and then followed up with a Michinoku driver for a 2 count. Cena hit the AA, but the ref was knocked out when that happened. I can't remember if he was spinning and Rollins caught the ref, or as he flipped Rollins over, Rollins' foot caught the ref. Anyway, the ref was knocked out. Rollins hit the knee to Cena's nose, and Cena was really disoriented. The ref was out there. He was calling for a new ref. And in the midst of all this, Jon Stewart runs down to the ring with the chair. He starts like going in there. He's like, I'm going to hit Rollins. I'm going after Rollins. No, wait, I'm backing off. I'm looking at Cena. I'm going after Rollins. I'm backing off, looking at Cena. Like, Cena's still covering his nose. And he takes it and he hits Cena in the stomach with the steel chair. Rollins then hits the pedigree on Cena on the chair. Rollins covers and the ref gets back in the ring, counts the 3. Your new United States Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins. Like I said, this match was going really well. Right up until the Jon Stewart interference. You know, I could have lived with the outside interference. I mean, one, you knew Cena wasn't going to win. Most evidence was going to point to this being a schmoz, because they really didn't have any reason to take the U.S. title off of Cena. That being said, exactly, I could have taken Triple H interfering, Stephanie interfering, Kane interfering, Big Show interfering, any member of the Authority interfering. Not Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart did not interfere in this. Not only that, but you also kind of realize that they basically copied the was it WrestleMania 27 where Cena faced The Miz and then The Rock hit Cena and cost him the match. Really? Again, that's what you're choosing to replicate? Oh boy. After that, we had the 9-Diva Tag Team Elimination match, and between Team Bella versus Team BAD, Beautiful and Dangerous, versus Team PCB, Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. What's it, Bailey? My mistake. Like I said, this was an elimination match. I don't think they announced this was an elimination match. I don't remember it being that until just right before the match started. And basically the premise was, if one person on a team was eliminated, then that whole team was eliminated, and the last 2 teams would face each other. And early on, Brie and Becky Lynch started off. They were fighting, and then Tamina blind tagged herself in, and then hit Brie with a super kick. Well, that begs another problem with this. Why not just start with 3 divas in the ring? Why does Tamina have to tag herself in to hit Brie with the super kick? Because Brie's not legal, so she can't pin her. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. After that, BAD isolated Becky, began beating her up in the corner. Eventually, Becky began to work her way out, try to get another tag. They threw her across the ring to get her away from the Charlotte and Paige. Eventually, Tamina rolled out to the ring, and Charlotte speared Tamina outside the ring. Naomi came back in and hit a plancha onto Charlotte and Becky. The Bellas then suicide onto Sasha and Tamina. And then Paige took out everyone with a somersault plancha off the ring apron. Brie hit the Bella Buster on Tamina for the 3. BAD was now eliminated. Nikki hit the rack attack on... I want to say it was Paige, because it was Paige throughout the latter part of this match a lot. Brie hit Paige with a series of yes kicks. Nikki hit the Alabama Slam on the outside of the ring, which, you know, if the curb stomp needs to be banned, then the Alabama Slam needs to be banned too, because you got someone who's whipping them down. You pick them up over your head and you just throw them right down on their back. Their head's bouncing around like a basketball, and you're doing that on the outside of the ring, which has no give. Yeah, that move needs to go. If you're going to ban the curb stop for safety reasons, then you need to ban the Alabama Slammer for the same reasons. Anyway, Charlotte got the tag from Paige. Nikki hit Charlotte as she was locking in the figure 8 on Alicia. Eventually, Becky Lynch got tagged in. She hit Brie with a T-bone suplex. They said it was a pump handle suplex. It was not. It was a T-bone suplex. On to Brie for the 3. Team PCB wins. And that leads us to the second to last match of the night, Cesaro and Kevin Owens. And I think they did both the Divas tag match and the Kevin Owens match because, you know, Sasha and Kevin Owens had pretty grueling matches the night before. So, one, push it to the later part of the pay-per-view. That way they're a little more rested up. Again, Sasha's team was eliminated early on, so I don't think that was that bad an idea for this. Excuse me. Anyway, this match was Cesaro and Kevin Owens. I don't think I mentioned that. This was a pretty pedestrian match. There wasn't too much to the... Owens hit a big somersault planche on Cesaro. Cesaro hit a corkscrew crossbody onto Owens. Owens hit his cannonball as Cesaro was leaned up against the ring barricade. Owens locked on a sleeper hold for a while. Cesaro hit a fireman neck breaker for a 2 count. Cesaro hit a gut wrench superplex for a 2 count. Owens hit a springboard tornado DDT for a 2 count. Owens went for a springboard moonsault and missed. Cesaro hit a series of European uppercuts, only got a 2 count out of it. Cesaro then locked on the sharpshooter, but Owens got to the ropes, and eventually Owens hit the pop-up powerbomb for the 3 and the win. And that brings us to our main event, the, oh boy, the Brock Lesnar-Undertaker match. Boy, this was, you know, this was a slobber knocker, as JR would like to call it, but again, great match leading up to a stupid finish. Early on, like, Undertaker was doing his whole shtick. He's going to the ring. He causes the lights. He starts taking off his hat, and Lesnar just pounces on him. Starts punching and punching and punching. Eventually, Taker clotheslines Lesnar out of the ring. They fight more. They fight more. They fight more. Taker gets a little bit of an upper hand. He goes for the old school, and Lesnar counters it into an F5 attempt. Taker managed to fight out of that. Went for a choke slam. Lesnar fought out of that. Began suplexing Taker, and then they kind of fell out of the ring, and that's when things started to slow down a little bit. And then they picked right back up as Taker threw a lot of threw Lesnar head first in the turnbuckle a bunch of times. Lesnar started suplexing the Undertaker again. Suplex City, Suplex City. Lesnar F5 hit the F5 through the French announce table onto Taker. Taker barely beat the 10 count back in the ring. Eventually managed to goad Lesnar enough that he got a chokeslam and a tombstone for a 2 count. Lesnar locked in the Kimura lock using the ropes, but eventually he did have to break it. And then Taker countered that. As he broke it, Taker managed to maneuver into a last ride and got a 2 count on it. Lesnar hit a second F5 for a 2 count. Lesnar hit a third F5 for a 2 count. And then Taker snookered him in and locked it in the Hell's Gate. But Lesnar managed to roll through a bunch of times on it and got out and locked Taker in the Kimura lock. And then, Kimura, like, if you know the Kimura lock, Lesnar's kind of on his back, but his shoulders are up. His legs are wrapped around Undertaker, and he's forking the Undertaker's left arm back. I can't really do it exactly like this. Putting all the pressure on there. And then, like, the referee's looking, he's looking at Lesnar's shoulders to make sure Lesnar's shoulders aren't down. And then suddenly the bell rings. And it's like, what's going on? And Heyman's like, he tapped, Summer. And, you know, Charles Robinson, who was the referee, was like, what's going on? He runs over to the bellkeeper or the timekeeper, and he's like, hey, I decide when the match ends, not you. What's going on? What's that? And the whole time, Heyman's screaming, he tapped. And in the whole thing, like, Lesnar breaks the hold. He starts going, like, what's going on here? What's going on? And ref's distracted. Lesnar's distracted. Heyman's distracted. Undertaker hits a low blow on Lesnar. That enables him to lock on the Hell's Gate again. He locks it on. He does... Excuse me. He locks on the Hell's Gate again. They're down on the floor. Taker's trying not to get his shoulders pinned. He's got Lesnar. He's got Lesnar. Lesnar's like, no, I'm not going to tap. And he flips Taker off, and he passes out. And Taker wins the match. And the whole time, Heyman is just screaming like, he tapped. And again, the announcers are like, what in the world is going on? And then see during the replay that, yes, The Undertaker did actually tap. Now, the way it's set up, though, Undertaker, you know, boy, I can't really do this here, right? Undertaker's on his, Brock Lesnar's on his back. Taker, you know, has Taker's left arm in the Kimura lock. Taker's right hand is tapping, but the ref can't see Taker's hand. The way it's positioned, the ref cannot see it. But the way it's also positioned, there's no way the timekeeper could have seen it unless he was like looking up to the Jumbotron or something. So I don't know why the timekeeper rang the bell. The only thing I could think of is maybe Heyman saw it and he was screaming he tapped, and that caused the timekeeper to ring the bell. But anyway, again, like the replay showed the Undertaker tapped out, but the ref did not see it. And then Heyman gets on the mic and says, no, Lesnar won this, he won this, Undertaker tapped out, Undertaker's tap-out streak is over. And that's how the show ended. Again, what is actually a pretty interesting match right up until the end, and then they kind of blew it. Again, I would have much rather had a schmoz or something. You know, heck, there maybe the double countout would have applied. Like I said, there are parts of the show I did like. I love the tag team match. You know, the Orton-Sheamus match was pretty good. Just, again, them constantly teasing that maybe Sheamus was going to cash in the Money in the Bank. Didn't need to be done. You know, if it's patently obvious that Sheamus isn't going to stop teasing that Sheamus is going to cash in Money in the Bank. Like I said, Cena, Rollins, Lesnar, Taker were both great matches right up until the end, and that killed it. The Divas match was pretty good. Again, I don't think they explained there was an elimination match until just before the match started. And two, like I said, I still had some structural problems with that. The Neville, Amell, Barrett, Stardust tag matches, yeah. The Triple Threat Intercontinental title match was, eh. And, yeah. If I were to grade this, I'd probably grade this like a C- or something. Well, the next WWE pay-per-view is Night of the Champions, and that is on September 20th. So that'll be the next vlog in all likelihood. Like I said, I'm in the middle of the Savage Dragon Archives reading. I have not scripted anything yet. That's why I'm taking the extra week, because again, we're probably looking at another long episode. Might actually have to divvy that up into 2 parts. Until the next time I make another video, see you then.